Hey you guys, what's up? Welcome to another video. Today, well, I feel like always saying the same thing. Today is a different, strange day. I'm actually not out to cook. I'm not really out to off-road. I did a little bit coming in here. Today, I'm out running my new camera through its paces to see how it works out. So just a little backstory. I have a couple of GoPros, through the years. I usually skip a generation or two when it comes to GoPro. I used the Hero 5 for a long time, and then I got actually I got an 8 and then a 9. So I didn't skip the generation, but 9 came with the front screen. So I've got 3 GoPros. I don't use the 5 anymore. I just use the 8 and 9. And I usually have a primary camera like this. There's horseflies out here right now. Hey, summertime. There's horseflies out here like bigger than the Lexus cruising around. I think they're going to carry me away. You might be able to hear this guy. He's so big. And it's always just like one. There's always one fly out here trying to get me. Little backstory on my camera. Usually not usually, what I've done over the past 10 years is I'll get a camera and I'll use it, I'll be using it 3-4 years. And then around that time, around the 3 or 4 year mark, I'll glance at the industry to see what kind of technology is advanced when it comes to the resolutions and just all the options you can get by upgrading to a better camera or a different camera. And I started off with a Canon 80D 1080p DSLR camera. And it was good. I liked it. It was great for what it was. Really robust camera. And then after the big push to mirrorless cameras came out where Sony was like just destroying it, they were doing such a good job with a smaller camera that had a lot better resolutions. Really long story short, not really going into too much of the details. I got a Canon EOS R about 3 years ago. And on YouTube, man, it's hard to trust what you hear. People, when it comes to camera equipment, they like talking about how good the 4K and the 6K and the 8K is. And this is 3-4 years ago, and here we are still today. Everyone really watches on their phones. Who really cares about that? Like if you get a good solid 1080p or you've got a 4K that's not real intensive, it's easy to work with, then great. Like I'm recording in 4K, I have been. I even record in 4K on my GoPros. So, when it comes to YouTube, a lot of people are bad-mouthing that camera, but I've used it for the last 3 years and I actually really enjoyed it. I thought it was perfect for me, right? It was perfect for me. I got it down to where the picture looked great. It looked the way I wanted it to look. I could make it look like a soap opera or a news broadcast doing 60 frames, but I didn't. I went more for the movie type thing, I like that look a little bit better. Just somewhere in the middle. So out of the blue, a video had popped up and it talked about a new camera and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's really what I've been waiting for. I've been wanting to do something because I actually had a cinema camera and I had my EOS R, and my cinema camera, I didn't end up using it. I never took it out in the field. I don't know why. It wasn't that big. It was a C200 and they're pretty expensive. I got it for a really good price. I was using it back in the day when I was doing vlogs in my studio, and the picture was so good and was so easy to work with. What I ended up doing was I took both my cinema camera and my EOS R camera and I traded them in for credit, which if you've got decent equipment and you keep it in good shape, you can get a pretty good return value. It's kind of like how the used car market is today. So I got, you can get a quote and you can, if you like the number, you send it in and you get your credit. If you don't, then you don't. Big deal. But you actually get a good solid number. And if you're truthful in everything that's accurate about the camera, then you'll actually get that number. And I've done it twice. I traded in the 80 for the EOS R, and I traded in the EOS R and the C200 to get the camera I'm using now. And I ended up having to wait about 2.5 months for it because they held it back for something. They were doing something new release. But I'm out here today messing around with this thing. You know, when it comes to all the stuff I do on YouTube, you know, all the gaming videos I've done for 12 years, that's one thing. But out here, it's a cool combination of like interests and hobbies that I like. I mean, obviously I like adventuring around in off-road and 4x4 vehicles, but I really like, you know, technology of cameras and making videos and the audio and all that stuff. So combining that together, it's fun for me. That's really all I'm doing today. I'm out here, I'm running through some 1080p stuff, I'm running through some 4K stuff. I'm testing out my wide dynamic range versus Canon log stuff, just a bunch of different things. Take it back, see how I like it. I'm seeing how kind of the battery life works on this one, how the memory works on it. There's a lot of different things that's going on that wasn't going on before. Plus, you know, getting your audio dialed in, it's really, really important because when you're out doing these things, you know, there could be windy conditions, you know, quiet conditions, how close or far away from the camera that you are, and getting that audio on point. Because really, I mean, there's people, these professionals that they have, you know, they have a crew with them and they have all these different devices and gizmos that they do. But for what I do, I need to be able to, there's cloud cover, it's coming and going. Let's see. It's a little dark. There's cloud cover coming and going, but what I like to do is if I can get it set up and dialed in to where I can set everything up and know that my volume levels are right, everything's going to be good, because you don't want to do hours worth of footage just later on to get back to civilization to find out that it all sucks. It's not working. It's totally blown out. The wind got it or whatever. So I really enjoy doing this stuff. And there's a lot that I do behind the scenes like this kind of thing to actually get everything dialed in. One of the reasons why I'm not really doing too much today as far as coming out and cooking or doing some kind of off-road adventure is today it's a little over 90 degrees, about 33 degrees C. See that? We were talking about this. We were talking about these units of measure during my live stream because, you know, there's people from all around the world that hang out in the live stream, and having a chance while I'm playing a game or something and being able to chat about things, weird topics come up, right? And I always find it interesting, the topic of units of measurement, whether it be a distance or weight, temperature or pressure. You find in a lot of countries, people use a combination of the metric and imperial systems, right? It seems like there's some things, I would say there's more things in the imperial system that just don't make sense or are stupid versus the metric system. A lot of things in the metric system make more sense, right? So we talked about, like, you know, I might use kilometers when I say how far I've gone or how far something is from me, but I don't use kilometers per hour. I'll use miles per hour, right? Say, oh, I've got 7 kilometers to go that way. I don't really say I have 10 miles to go that way, but I don't say, oh, I'm going 80 kilometers an hour. I'll say I'm doing, 70 miles per hour. And then a lot of countries, when it comes to pressure, they actually use PSI instead of bar. And this is something we talked about. Because PSI, when you're relating to tire pressures, saying 1.2 bar is such a low number. It's such a low number, and you're using the decimal place. When you're talking about pressure, you're saying, oh, I'm going to lower my tire pressure from 34 down to 20, or from 20 to 18, or I'm stuck in some sand, I'm going to go all the way down to 12 PSI. So a lot of countries that are metric countries actually speak in PSI. Now, I don't know if that's because the industry, as an off-roading industry or overlanding industry, everyone does that, so they kind of pick up on that and mimic it. It's hard to tell. But I'll say something's 10 meters away, versus, I don't usually say so many feet. I definitely don't like saying yards unless I relate to a football field of, that's 100 yards away. It's easy for me to judge something in football fields away. But you can say things in meters. I just find it interesting that how we all kind of mix and match these things. And some people are like really diehard, like, why don't you use the correct unit of measurement? I actually forgot what I started talking about there. I was talking about how I'm not off-roading or cooking today because of the temperature being over 90 degrees, or I think it's about 92, 33 degrees C, somewhere in there. And I'm up at elevation too. So as I go back down into the valley, it's going to warm up. Where I'm at now is usually 4 to 5 degrees cooler. And then where I go up where the red dirt is, it's almost 8 to 10 degrees cooler. So that's a thing. And this all relates back to my complete misunderstanding of why people do all of their stuff. Now, granted, it's time off and vacations. Let's eliminate that from it. Let's just say weekend trips or whatever. But there's everyone out in the summertime. Everyone. It's like they're everywhere. Because I'm out here all year long. And I can tell by if I see other people camping, if I can see other people off-roading, if I can hear side-by-sides or motorcycles in the distance. Summertime, it's like it's a crapshoot. There's people everywhere. In the wintertime, there's nobody, right? But right now, I've got these flies, this flies buzzing around and everything. And there's a lot of deer in this area. There's a mountain lion in this area, and there's some cattle in this area, but very rare to see the cattle. They'll bring them in and let them graze through and then take them out. So that's why there are some flies here, but it's only in the summertime, right? Snakes, spiders, bugs. We get these black fly, these big, what I call horse flies, cow flies, whatever. They're huge suckers. And then you get kind of some gnats, but not too bad with the mossies and stuff because there's not a lot of water. There's not a lot of standing water around up here. So we don't really get that. Oh, he just landed on my tripod. That dude is as big as my thumb. Can you hear him? Anyway. So I don't want to tell everybody how great it is in the wintertime because I don't want you guys to start going out in the winter and because that's the fun time for me. But yeah, it's cold there in the winter, right? Where you got to wear a jacket and a beanie but in the summertime it's hot. Like it's not just warm, it's hot. So if people think that I don't want to go out in the wintertime because what if I break down? I could freeze to death, right? Cuz it up here, in the teens, minus 10 C in there is normal. It's normal where I'm at, especially at night. It's definitely those temps. During the day, 0 degrees C, 32 F, right around freezing is pretty normal in the wintertime. So even if there's no snow on the ground, it'll look like this, like it looks right now, and it'll be really cold. So in the summertime, though, it's the same thing. You're like, well, what if I break down? Well, it's 90, 100 degrees out. It's the other end. Hyperthermia versus hypothermia. One's cold, one's hot. One's overheating, one's freezing, right? Either of the thermias can kill you. So if that's your theory, well, it's a flawed theory. Plus, when you're hot and you're out and you get sweaty and sticky and then the flies and all that, I don't know. I actually, it doesn't matter to me. I go all the time, but I just find it very interesting that days like today are a great day for me to do what I'm doing with this camera. Because there's some strange, more than usual cloud coverage. Almost like we are approaching monsoon season, but there's some of them actually are kind of dark. They almost look like rain clouds. And there is a touch more humidity today. Usually it's super dry. This is northern Arizona. Very sensitive to the change when the humidity comes. That's why I know when rain is coming here. But when the clouds are coming and going, you should be able to see it throughout this footage. You'll see like the camera's picking up on my bright kind of white shirt and it looks good there. My face is dark, right? And the idea is you got to know your subject. What do you want? And it should be my face. I shouldn't have wore just a white t-shirt today, but it's a good thing. I'm going to see how this all looks and how it sounds and all that. I know this is probably super boring for everybody, but I love this stuff. Like I love this is it's like a new toy for me. And I love doing this, but I'm really eager to get back to where I was with my old camera. I knew my settings were fixed. All I had to do was this stuff. Whoop, see? All I had to do was to be able to adjust that. And the focus is good on my face, so I would adjust with my ND filter. I knew my audios were pretty good. See, I'm using an on-camera mic right now, so that's why I'm about an arm's length away from the camera at 18 mil right now. So this is a 15 to 35 lens. So I'm at 18 mil. You can see I can expand to there's 15 mil. You can see more of the Jeep. It looks like it pushed me farther away, or you can go big FaceTime. You can go big FaceTime. That's 35 mil right there. So 35 mil. I mean, it looks really good on my little display over here. Like I'm like, oh, this quality is gonna be so good. It's gonna be so good. 18 mil is pretty good though. 22, 18, 17. So I'm using on camera mic. So you need to be close. You need to be close for your audio. I mean, listen, I think audio is most important on YouTube. I think it's most important. And there's all kinds of studies that say that the human beings, audio is more important than visual. So I think audio, and I see a lot of YouTube videos where their video is like really good. Like maybe they're using their phone or something, because these phones these days, they can shoot incredible video. And their video looks super crisp, like you're watching a soap opera or a news broadcast. You're like, oh my God, your quality is so good. Well, they're shooting at 60 frames per second, and that's why it looks like a video game. But then their audio sucks. But people let them get away with it, right? So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people don't care about audio as much as I do. All right, I'm digressing. So the other thing is I've got wireless mics for wearing on you. But the problem is I'm always wearing t-shirts. I don't usually wear button downs, obviously jackets or anything like that, unless it's cooler outside. So they're kind of hard to wear. You can kind of put them on your hat, but you end up looking like a goober on your t-shirt here. But those work really good too. And then I can get farther away, right? You can get farther away, and that's like cooking segments or whatever. And I've got a system I haven't used yet, but it's the same thing that I had, except it gives you two mics to one receiver. So when we do our Can We Survive videos, I'll have one for Niels, one for me, and I could be here talking to the camera, and he could be off camera, and I could say, wow, what a giant doucher he is. And he's like, what'd you say? And you'll totally hear him. I think it'll be fun. We'll see how it works out. But that's the two different kind of audio things too. I haven't tested the on-person mics yet, but there's a lot of adjustability. But again, I want to get it fixed to where it's a no-brainer, right? I can look at my levels, everything looks good, that it's working, and boom, off you go, off to the races. All right, well, I'm going to wrap this one up, you guys. Again, if you guys hung around, thanks. Again, this is kind of like something I needed to do for myself. I like sharing a lot with you guys. I might as well do it. I need to see how the end result all the way up to YouTube is, right? Because, you go through the extra effort of all this 4K and all this stuff, and if the 1080p is what people are still watching in and it still works great, a lot less space on my memory cards. There's a lot of different things, so yeah, thanks for coming along. If you made it to the end, you guys are awesome, because this is probably very specific to me and not very interesting to others maybe. But that's it for me, you guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.